All right. And for the folks that are joining, good afternoon and welcome to Setting the Course 2027. My name is Michael Vincent, and I'm the owner of Treasure Box Tours. And each year we have a fun lineup of trips that we run all throughout Colorado, throughout the country. We go internationally. And so with our newest lineup, we have more tours next year. So I'm just trying to figure out how to get to my slideshows that I can advance. Here we go. Well, let's introduce ourselves. I already mentioned I'm Michael Vincent. I'm the owner of Treasure Box Tours, and then I have Rhonda Lloyd. She is the new tour coordinator for Treasure Box Tours. Rhonda is quite amazing. And then we have other folks that aren't with us today, but they are our guides, our content experts. You'll see them listed in your brochure. But we have Kevin Snow, former uh, owner and operator of Treasure Box Tours. He's actually going to be coming back next year, leading a few of our trips. We have Jack Wheeler Barajas. He is our train guru, our iron horse, everything about trains. We get him on board. And we have a couple trips with him. We have Dr. Andrew Gulliford from Fort Lewis College. He is our main Southwest historian and larger history topics such as Lewis and Clark. He's going to be leading a couple trips next year. And we have Dr. Shaw's Austin. She runs her own company, Gaia Voyager. She helps folks travel internationally, and we have her helping us with our international trip next year. All right, so we'll continue forward. We have to get through the nitty-gritty details before we get into the tours. So how do I register? What's going to happen with my payment? All-day tours, when registering, require full payment as you register online or with us here in person today. And overnight trips, you have the option of providing a deposit or a full payment. The deposit is 10%, and then the remaining balance is split in two. We send out notifications and payment links with that divided balance of when those will be due as we get closer to the tour date. All of the prices that you see are listed on double occupancy on the overnights. Single occupancy is a separate rate. What you're really just paying for that single occupancy is your hotel, having a room to yourself. Now, roommates may be requested for any overnight tour. It's not going to be a guarantee, but if you don't know in advance of registering for the trip, you may say, hey, I'd like a roommate. There's going to be an option online for you or on your form. And then we can try to pair you with someone. If someone else has also said, hey, I want a roommate, we get to know all of our travelers quite well. So we do our best to pair you with folks that are suitable. If we're not able to pair you with a roommate, we'll give you advance notice before we start taking remaining balances to let you know if you would be a single occupant. And something new that you'll see online for the overnight trips, you'll be asked to provide dietary and allergy requirements as well as mobility and accessibility requirements. Again, we know most of you quite well, but we're getting new folks and we just want to be sure nothing is missed because we try our best to accommodate each and every one of you on our trips. Okay, so if you go online this evening, you'll go to treasureboxtours.com/group tours. This is the page you'll be presented with, though updated. As you can see on there, this is from 2022. You'll see 2027 listed there. You'll scroll down, you'll select the trips that you're interested in joining. And then when you click on each individual trip, you will get this little pop-up page. You'll select the quantity. If it's an overnight, you'll select through the occupancy, if flights are included, anything to tailor this to your ticket. Then you'll select add to cart. And on the upper right corner, you'll see your little shopping cart icon. It should have a quantity for the number of trips that you're interested in listed there. This takes you to a screen to review your cart, making sure all of the trips that you're interested are truly listed. And when you click proceed, this takes you to the payment screen. Now, many of you may have a credit with Treasure Box Tours. If you do have a credit, you would have received a code from Rhonda. In the payment screen here, where it says add or a gift or discount code, this is where you'll type in that code you received from Rhonda. Now, for everyone else, we have an automatic discount that's going on. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. It's our early bird special. This is an automatic discount. You don't have to type in anything. And so anyone registering up until September 22nd, you will receive either 20 or 10% off. And again, I'll talk about that more in just a moment. But you submit your payment, and then you're going to get a system-generated confirmation email from Treasure Box Tours. It's going to list out all of your trips with the price that you paid. And then Rhonda will follow up with a more detailed confirmation if you are registered for any overnight trips. And this will list out the discounts, balances, due, when those will be due, etc. If you do not receive either of these confirmations with an order number, you are not registered for a trip. So if you think you've registered, but you can't find anything from us that says you are, please just reach out to us directly. We've got Rhonda's email up there, rloyd@treasureboxtours.com, or my email, michael@treasureboxtours.com. Either of us can help make sure that we get you on to our trips. Now, the cancellation policy, you may cancel a day tour up to a week prior to the tour and receive a full refund. Cancellations with fewer than a week's notice are generally non-refundable. I say that because sometimes things happen. We have to cancel a trip. Medical events come up. We do our best to work with everyone if you have to cancel. For an overnight tour, it's a little trickier because we have already made advance deposits. And so any cancellation up until the registration deadline, which is posted in your tour brochure and also posted on the website, that is a full refund. After that date, we start going into tiers. And so 45 days from the registration tour or registration deadline up to 45 days, 75% refundable. 44 to 30 is 50%, 29 to 14, 25%. Cancellations with 13 days or fewer is generally not refundable. Again, we try to work with everyone. We know that life comes at us and sometimes it's out of our control. We don't want you to be out of money because of that. So you can see our full cancellation policy online there at treasureboxtours.com. Now, tours do sell out fast, and next year we have a couple of trips that the space is limited. And so, if a tour has sold out and it's listed sold out online, you may still join the waitlist. To do this, if you're on the website, you just click on the tour you're interested in, even if it says sold out, scroll to the bottom, and there you'll be able to enter your email address, click add. That adds you to our waitlist, and if space opens up, we can reach out to you to let you know. If the waitlist grows large enough, we can try to run a second tour at a later date. And so we'll reach out to you. It's always good to be on a wait list. If you're unsure if you're on a wait list, just email me or Rhonda. We'll be sure we get you there. Start locations. For the most part, our day tours start here on the Auraria campus at the Spring Hill Suites by Marriott. We have a partnership with them where the buses can pull up. You are provided valet parking should you wish to do that. And for some of our overnights, we also start here. Other overnights, we start in a different city. And so it will list in your brochure and on the website the start location. If it's an overnight trip in a different city, it typically means that you're going to get yourself to the airport and to the hotel. The official start location is the hotel that first night. We try not to plan any activities on that first day to allow the flexibility of you getting into that city, different airlines, mileage, or maybe you want to come in a few days early. So you have lots of flexibility with that. And itineraries. Now, all itineraries, day and overnight, are subject to change. We try our best to not make changes, but just like life can come at us, life comes at us in the tour world. Sometimes things close or roads close. We always have plan A, B, C, D, and F. But just keep that in mind. We try to keep to the itinerary that is printed in those brochures. The overnight tour itineraries and packets are sent 4 to 2 weeks prior to the trip. And for day tours, it's exactly 1 week prior to your tour. You'll get an emailed tour letter from us with those start location details. Okay, something a little different this year, airfare. So we have airfare prices listed in the brochure. All of our trips, pretty sure for 27, the flights are optional. And so we don't have any tours where the flights are included. This is to allow that flexibility. But we're also estimating all of our prices. And the airline industry and the world itself is going through a lot of changes. It's hard to truly estimate a year and a half for some of these trips in advance of what those rates will be. So we have the estimate, but should those rates change, whether decreasing or increasing, we'll notify you to let you know. I do recommend for most folks, you're still probably safe to book with us We take care of all the stress of booking a flight away from you, so that we put that on our shoulders. But if you're really not too sure and you're not happy with the rate that's quoted, you can always just wait until we get a little closer to the tour date. Ask me for the details. I can try to get you on a similar flight time, but you would just make the reservation on your own. All right, listed in your brochure, we have tour classifications. These have been the same year after year. We have our copper penny. These are the low tier trips, mostly day tours that we have. These are affordable, mostly 5 hours. Some walking might be involved, especially on the walking tours. Any walking tour you see listed in there within a historic district, it's usually no more than 2 miles. So a pretty approachable tour for the copper penny. Silver Eagle is one step above. These are trips that are up to $3,000. This can both be a day tour or an overnight trip. And listed in your brochure varies in your challenging, bold, moderate difficulty levels for the trip. And then gold to balloon, those are more your luxury trips. So our high-end tours, longer days, so a higher price. And then again, with the difficulty, we have 4 different categories. Most of our trips are in the easy to moderate range. We do have a couple in the bold and we have one in the challenging. I'll talk about that when we get to that tour. But easy may involve short periods of standing, limited stairs, usually walking tours that we have, and our day bus tours. A moderate, maybe a little more than 2 miles of walking, easy trails, maybe some uneven surfaces, but approachable, climbing stairs, several hours outdoors. We might have longer bus tours. This could also mean a day or two away from home. Bold, it's just one extra step above that, a little more walking, more time from home, which is hard on us. It could be a trip where each night we're at a different hotel. So that's why it's listed as bold. And then challenging, this is really for the adventure. It could be several days away from home, but we are really focused on being in the outdoors, going on hikes, doing rigorous activities, nothing too dangerous, but definitely a high level of effort that you have to put into the tour itself. Okay, before I get into 2027, I do have a couple of announcements regarding 26. One, we do still have space available on some of our trips. The most important one I want to let you know about, actually, there are a couple, but Better Off Birding. Originally, that trip was supposed to be scheduled yesterday. Anyone who's here in Colorado knows that we couldn't have done that. That would have been pretty difficult with all the snow that we got here. So we've rescheduled that. And with the rescheduling, those that were registered, not everyone was able to make it. So we do have limited space. I believe it's 4 or 5 seats or reservations open. But if you are interested, it's going to be May 26th, which I believe is a Tuesday. It'll be from 8 to noon. Price is still the same at $45. You may register online or reach out to Rhonda or me directly, and we can get you onto that trip. Better Off Birding. Better Off Birding is the first one that's listed on the top there.
Still showing your send up. Okay.
Yes. So our website will be, Justin, we do have 26 brochures at the back too, if you need to look in more detail at any of these trips. We do have a little space left on our capital collection. This is going to New England. We're going to visit our 6 New England states and the capitals. It's not just focused on the capitals. We're going to be touring throughout these 6 states. So that's Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. We have another capital collection tour in 27. And so this is a great way to kickstart your capital collection booklet where you can get a stamp at all 50 state capitals. So we've only been to Colorado, Wyoming, and now we're going to New England with these 6. We have a change to the Grand Tour of Colorado. This is going to be July 29th through August 6th, which is a date change. Originally, this trip, when we planned it last year, was a big celebration for Colorado's 150th and the United States 250th. And so this was a 2-week trip, full look at the entire state of Colorado. However, as we've been going through and getting closer to Colorado's birthday, we've had low registrations. And of those that did register, almost everyone wanted to do the second half of the trip, not the first half, which was an option for it. So we've changed it around where we're only running the second half of the trip. We're going to be running it from the start of those dates. So let me talk about that in just a minute. And the last one I want to let you know about is the Hot Springs of Colorado. This is going to be a special trip where we visit Pagosa Springs and stay at the Springs Resort for 2 nights. Then we'll visit Hot Springs in the San Luis Valley. We'll stay overnight in Salida, see the hot springs there, and the Mount Princeton Hot Springs in Buena Vista. So if you're interested in hot springs, this is just a nice staycation within the state. We do have space available on that. Should you be interested, just let us know. So for the grand tour, again, new dates. If you're currently registered for this, you're going to get a detailed message from me explaining the changes and your options. If you want to stay on or if you want to go forward with the changes. For everyone else, this would just be a new tour offering for you. So July 29th through August 6th, the price for double occupancy, 3,500, single is 4,450. We start here in Denver and make our way down to Colorado Springs. We will still ride the Pikes Peak Cog Railway and we'll have an overnight in Colorado Springs. That will be a day with Jack Wheeler, Barajas, and so he'll be our content expert all about the Cog Railroad. The following day, we'll head out from Colorado Springs to Grand Junction. We'll visit the Palisade Orchards, a winery out there. We'll have overnight in Grand Junction. Following day, this is essentially the same itinerary for that second half of the week. We head to Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, Ouray, overnight in Ouray with Ouray Hot Springs. We drive down to Telluride, explore Telluride, Canyons of the Ancients Visitor Center, which is just north of Cortez, and we stay overnight in Cortez. Then we head into Mesa Verde National Park. We'll have a full exploration there before staying overnight in Durango. The following day, we head out to Chimney Rock National Monument. We'll explore a little bit in Pagosa Springs, making our way toward Alamosa, and that's where we'll be overnight. And then we head to Salida Great Sand Dunes National Park, the Salida Museum overnight there, making our way up to Leadville. We do the Leadville Railroad, Frisco Historic Park. We spend our night in Grand Lake. And then for our final day, we'll drive from Grand Lake into Rocky Mountain National Park, over into Estes Park, and then make our way back down to Denver. The whole trip is going to be hosted by Dr. Andrew Gulliford, and we have our 2 days with Jack. And so the first day there in Colorado Springs will be with Jack, and our day in Leadville. I'll also be on the whole journey. So this is updated. The website will reflect this when you get home this evening and when you're looking online this evening. Should you be interested, you have, I believe, until June, middle of June, to get registered.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do I get a refund?
So
Do I get, what are the options for these help?
Yep. So the question was for those that are seeing the recording, if you were registered and you were registered for the full trip, what are your options? Will you get a refund? And yes, you will get a refund for the second half if you want to stay on that. And I'll reach out to you directly to let you know full amounts and exactly what that process will be. So anyone else, if you're seeing the recording, please just reach out to me directly. You're going to get a notice from me about this change if you're on that trip already. Okay, so for 2027, as I mentioned, we've got a big special discount going for 2 weeks only, starting at 8 p.m. tonight. 20% off anything you register for, and it's the payments that are received. So what this means is if you register for an overnight trip and you only pay the deposit, you are only going to get 20% off the deposit. Your remaining balance is still going to be the full amount of that. However, you have, as you see listed on the screen, until September 22nd to receive 10% off. So if you reach out to us in this window from 8 p.m. tonight until September 22nd, you may apply a discount to any balance owed on any overnight trip, which means you may sign up to start with a deposit and then here in a month or two, pay the tour off in full so that you get the greater discount. The greatest discount is, of course, paying in full for those overnight trips. Day tours, it's the same discount regardless because you're paying in full. So there is some incentive if you're able to do that. We know not everyone is, so this is the flexibility where you can pay a deposit and make payments toward it. Every payment up until September 22nd will have a discount. 20% till 11:59 p.m. on May 21st, and then at midnight on May 22nd until 11:59 on September 22nd, 10% off. So there's not a major rush to sign up. However, as we go through some of these trips, I will highlight the ones where space is limited. Ones we're anticipating, you may want to register sooner than later. And with that, let's hop on into the brochure. Okay, so you see our fun little map there. These are all the places we're going, a lot within the United States. But if you look up toward the top left, we have Alaska, and middle central there, we have the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. So our first journey that we'll have is a little staycation. This has come via request from some of our guests. We're going to have our Mile High Speakeasies tour. And so this is going to be all focused on the history of Prohibition and indulging in drinks in modern day speakeasies. So this will be in January, be a way to warm up with all the cold in January, potentially. We have a register by date. If anything is up until December 31st, that means it's this year, 26th. Everything after that, of course, is next year. For this tour, we'll start in downtown Denver at one of our hotels here, and we'll have a Prohibition 101 lecture. I'll provide that. We'll get a snapshot of the history of Prohibition. Colorado, of course, prohibits alcohol 4 years prior to the rest of the nation. And so it's important for us to cover this history, especially when it impacts the downtown core, lots of the breweries that we had, the German immigrant population that we had. It had significant impact. So we'll cover that. We'll have a nice meal, and then we'll head on out into the evening to our 3 speakeasies. And you'll have one drink that's included at each of these speakeasies. If you want any additional, that of course will be on your own. We'll return to that hotel. I am not a fan of drinking and driving. I don't want anyone getting out onto the streets that night. So we will have transportation taking us to each of these speakeasies back safely to the hotel. Be able to rest up, and the following morning have breakfast before you head out for the day. Now, food has been popular with all of our trips, even when we're on our overnights. I know I've had some new guests traveling with us, not realizing that we're trying to plump everyone up with the grand meals that we have, let alone the chocolate bag that's constantly going back and forth on those aisles. We love food with Treasure Box. And so we have our annual Let's Go Gastronomy tour, where actually, because we love food so much, we are adding more food tours into the lineup. So we'll get to those. To start with this one, this is going to be a bus tour. We're going to be focusing in Aurora for 2027. And so places along Colfax and within Aurora. It's going to be a very diverse menu that we have. Not every restaurant has been determined at this moment, but we do know the location, and that will be Aurora. It's $165. This is including samples of drinks, entrees, appetizers, and desserts at various locations, as well as the bus and guiding services. All right. So each year, starting in actually, it was this year. Starting this year, we've been visiting our Southern Belle cities. And so in January, we went to New Orleans. Last month, we went to Charleston. And so I said, let's just keep this going. And so next year, we're going to go to Savannah. And the year after that, St. Augustine. And so keep that in mind. We're going to keep touring our Southern Belle cities. So we head to Savannah. This is similar to the New Orleans and Charleston trip. It is a quick trip out there to the city. It's usually one full day in the city, one full day outside the city exploring, and then you have your travel days on either end. It is meant to give you a taste of what the places have to offer. This trip will be in February, so it will be cooler temperatures. It won't be, and I will bite my tongue saying this now, but it should not be as cold as it would be in Colorado at that time. Now, I say that because I took everyone to New Orleans, and it was the coldest New Orleans was in the last 3 years. We did the same thing when we went to Key West. Coldest it was in all of Florida in the last 50 years. We're not going to try to do that when we go to Savannah, but it should be cooler temperatures. It is in between hurricane season. It's moderate down there. So we'll have a wonderful time exploring Savannah. Now, as I mentioned, you'll arrive into Savannah. You have the option of including the flight. The only activity that first day is a welcome dinner. And then we'll be overnight at the same hotel for all 3 nights. That makes it really nice. The following day, we'll wake up, we'll take a trolley tour. We'll see the famous squares in Savannah. We'll visit the Savannah History Museum. We'll learn about Forrest Gump, of course, and that box of chocolates on the bench. And this will be a very special meal. We'll have a group lunch at Mrs. Wilkes. This is Southern comfort food, family style. And so we will just show up, and all of this wonderful Southern food will just be placed out onto the table in front of us, and we'll be able to chow down on all of that. Then we'll visit the Old Sorrel Weed House Museum, and you'll have a little bit of free time that afternoon into the evening. The following day, we're going to head a little to the south to Fort Pulaski National Monument and Tybee Island, give you some time to explore there. Then we'll return to Savannah, visit the historic River Street, allow you to stroll and shop. We'll have a farewell dinner, and then if anyone's interested, we've been adding these on to each of our Southern Belle city trips. We'll have the optional ghost tour. So if you want to learn about the ghosts of Savannah, you'll have that opportunity. And then on the last day, you'll wake up and you'll head on out. Or if you want, you can stay later. And that is Serenity in Savannah in February. All right, each year we tour a different street here in Denver. These are very popular trips with us. We've been running them for many, many years. My predecessor, Kevin, created them. His first one, I believe, was Colfax. And he just gave the Colfax tour last month. And believe it or not, we have now run through the major thoroughfares of Denver, and we are now starting over. And so Broadway is our street of exploration. Now, I know not everyone has explored Broadway with us. And so we'll start with Broadway. We have, I think, 11 different streets that we tour the entirety of as much as we can. So this one will start way up on the north end of Broadway, which is Brighton Boulevard, work our way down, going through Inglewood. And so what you see in the photo there, that is the Charles Deaton Bank that he designed in Inglewood, right off Hampton and Broadway. All right, I'm going to try to bring this back from not the graveyard. It didn't quite die, but I want to bring it back. Be a sport. We want to look into the history of sports, and I think this will be a really fun tour because we have some changes in our major league sports here in Denver and in Colorado. And so we're going to take a look at the history of the sports teams that we've had here. We'll learn about the Denver Bears, the Broncos, the old Mile High Stadium, McNichols Arena, how the arenas have changed. We're not far from Ball Arena currently, where the Avalanche and Nuggets play. We'll learn about the Rockies, all of that. But then we're going to learn about Broncos moving to Burnham Yards. We're going to learn about our new women's Major League Soccer stadium and team that we have. We set records with attendance with their very first game. So a lot is happening with sports here in Denver and Colorado. It's time that we take a good look at that. Okay, so similar in format to the Serenity and Savannah tour, we're going to have For the Win in Dallas-Fort Worth, FTW and DFW. Now, this is a trip in March. Will be moderate temperatures in this area of Texas. The intent is to have full city exploration of each city with a little something special in between. So that first day, you head in, you get to DFW, a bus will meet us there. This one's going to be a little different because then we're all going to travel out to Dallas, stay overnight in Dallas, and we're going to be near Dealey Plaza and the JFK Memorial. And so we'll have our overnight. The following morning, we will visit the museum, the sixth floor museum. The plaza will have a private tour learning about the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And then we'll lift our sorrows by looking at science, visit one of the neatest science museums I've been to, the Perot Museum of Nature and Science. They have a great replica of the Quetzalcoatlus, which is the large terror bird, which has been discovered in Texas. And so we learned about that on our Rio Grande trip down there in Big Bend. But it's a fun science museum there in Dallas. You'll have a little bit of free time in the downtown core, and then overnight in Dallas, same hotel. Then the next day, we're going to head out to Fort Worth. We'll visit the Fort Worth Stockyards, the Fort Worth Herd Cattle Drive that they run twice daily. We'll have a group lunch, a true Texas meal, beef. It's going to be what's for dinner. Don't worry, if you don't eat beef, we will find you something else, I promise. And then we'll have the John Wayne experience. And so we'll learn about how Fort Worth and Dallas are cities that do share a large metropolitan area. There's no real separation, but they have very different cultures that they present. And so we'll see Dallas, which is really big city, and then we'll see Fort Worth, which is a big city, but focused on this cattle industry and the livelihoods of cattle. Then we have our overnight in Fort Worth. The following day, we head to Grapevine. Grapevine is in between Dallas and Fort Worth, just to the north of DFW Airport. So it's sort of the in-between city. And here they have a vintage railroad. And so we're going to take a ride on the vintage railroad. This is also a small wine country area for the DFW area. So in Grapevine, it gets its name from vineyards that were historically out there. So they still have some wineries. We'll take some sips at one of those wineries, and then we'll stay in the former depot, which is now a hotel that services the train there in Grapevine. That will be the end. We'll be right by the airport the following morning to get you to DFW before you depart. All right, and keeping us going. So this was a trip working with Jack. We were going through lots of ideas of what can we do? What trains have we not done? I said, we've always gone west on the California Zephyr. What's it like going east? And so he said, that'd be a perfect trip. Let's go east. So that's what we're gonna do. It's all aboard, Mile High to the Windy City. This will be in April. There you see the Amtrak California Zephyr at Union Station here in Denver. This trip will start at Union Station in Denver. We're going to hop onto the train and then we're going to have an overnight on the train on our way to Chicago. And so everyone with this will have a private room on the train. You may notice when I go back here to the first screen, double occupancy rate is 3,500 and you see it spikes with that single occupancy rate. That is because of the private room. This is a unique trip where to guarantee you that space, you do have to, if you want it to yourself, you do have to pay the higher price. So we'll try to get everyone to pair up if we can. But if you really want that space, just know for the private room, as well as the hotels later in the trip, that is the cost you're looking at. So we have our overnight. We have Jack, he is our host on there. We'll have a little introduction over dinner. He'll be with us on the train. And so before you go to bed, he'll have some packets and like a mini lecture to have telling you about the train ride because you'll be sleeping, missing going by all these other places. So you can read about it the following morning. Around 2 p.m. or so, we should be into Chicago. I'm saying should because we don't know if Amtrak will be on time, especially next year in April. Way too hard to predict that. So sometime in the afternoon, we'll get there. We'll be there in Chicago. This is Chicago's Union Station that you're seeing. We'll have some free time. We're going to stay overnight. Same hotel each night there in Chicago. And then Jack will take us the following day to the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry. You notice that's the only activity this museum will take the entire day. And you have Jack there. So you'll be able to take the entire day and learn from Jack. You don't have to take the whole day, but it is one where at least 4 hours you're going to want touring through the museum. And he'll definitely get you to the train exhibits. And then you have some free time, should you wish. Dinner will be on your own. And then the following day, we're going to take local transit to get to the Pullman National Historical Park. We'll learn about the Pullman Company, the Pullman cars, the significance of those all across the country, especially in relation to train travel. And then we'll have an architecture river cruise. We'll make sure nothing's fallen off those bridges on top of us as we go on that cruise. And we'll have a farewell dinner. And then the following day, you have the option. Fly home. You could take the train back to Denver if you want. You could rent a car, drive back to Denver. The choice is yours, but you must be out of the hotel by 11 a.m. All right. That is Mile High to Windy City. For this next one, I'm going to tell you about the tour, and I'm going to bring Rhonda up. She's been working on designing this. She can tell us a little more of what we're going to see. But each year we have an arts-focused trip. Last year we did just a general arts of Denver, looking at the districts that we have within the city. And next year we're going to look at this new upcoming art that's in Aurora. And so the two photos you see here are some of the new installations that we have. And I know one of our guests, Carolyn, she's actually been out there to see these. We're going to take a bus out there. We're going to tour Art in Aurora. And for two of these stops, there is a little bit of walking. So if you notice on there, it says bus tour is moderate. We aren't on the bus the entire time. We're going to take the bus out there. We'll stop. We'll have a little bit of a walk out to some of the sculptures, back to the bus, to another site, a little bit of walking back to the sculptures. So price doesn't change, but a little more physical ability is required for this tour. Anything I've missed, Ron? She says no. All right. Anything you want me to say?
Sign up and you'll be surprised.
Sign up and I'll be surprised, is what she said. All right. It is going to be a really fun tour.
Right. Yes.
Now, I'm trying to think of the name of the one on the bottom left corner. I believe it's Broken But Together is the name of the sculpture. It's hard to see in that photo, but where you see the purple, these are sort of chunks of the people that are missing. And so it's representing that they're broken, they're holding the hands, they're together. Um, yeah, it'll be a very interesting trip. All right. So we've had a really awesome trip last year in 25 from St. Louis to Louisville, and we stayed at Grand Hotels along the route. And so we stayed at a nice hotel in St. Louis for 2 nights, and then we went to French Lick and West Baden, Indiana. We stayed there for 2 nights, and then we went to Louisville and stayed 2 nights. This was such a successful trip that I wanted to continue this theme of touring to different parts of the country. And so next year, we're going to look at the grand hotels of the Gulf Coast. And so this will be in April. It'll be a little warmer because there will be beach time included in the trip. And we start and end, it's sort of a round trip out of Pensacola. And so we're going to get to Pensacola. We're going to see a little bit of the beach, head up to Sandestin, and then we'll have our hotel for 2 nights, the Hotel Effie. That is the top photo you see on the left. We'll head out into Destin, Florida. We'll have a group lunch. We'll give you some time there at the beach. We'll learn the history of Pensacola, Destin, Sandestin in that area. And then the following day, we leave the Florida coast and make our way all the way up to Biloxi, Mississippi. We're going to see the Maritime and Seafood Industry Museum, the Beauvoir House, and then our overnight is at the White House Hotel. This is for 2 nights. That is the middle photo you see. And then we'll take a ferry tour out to the Gulf Islands National Seashore, out to Ship Island. We'll have some time exploring that and some of the forts that have been built there along the Gulf. We come back, you have a little bit of beach time in Biloxi, and then we have group dinner. We head out the following day now to the middle point. And so we're going to get our way out to Mobile. We'll see the Bellingrath Gardens and Home, the USS Alabama battleship. You'll have a little bit of free time in Mobile, and then we go a little bit south of there to Fairhope, Alabama. And for 2 nights, we will stay at the Grand Hotel called Resort and Spa. And that is the bottom photo that you see. There, a little south of Mobile, we'll also tour the Fort Morgan State Historic Site, the Gulf Shores Museum. So we'll head into Gulf Shores. We'll see the Gulf Shores Beach. We'll have a farewell dinner, head back up to the hotel. And then the following day, the only flight heading back to Denver is later in the evening. And so that morning, we'll spend our time in Pensacola. We'll visit Pensacola Beach, the boardwalk and lighthouse they have there. And then we'll get you to the airport for your individual departures. And so that will be around 3 or so that afternoon. So it's hopping along the Gulf in Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi, staying at these nice hotels and getting the history and culture all mixed in between. All right, let's get our kicks on Route 66. All right, this is a trip I'm very much looking forward to. I've been talking with Dr. Andrew Gulliford about doing this trip for 3 years now, maybe even a little longer than that. We got the idea, and it's actually from this photo that is in Williams, Arizona. We had a Colorado River trip. And so we were tracing that river all the way down into California. We had a day in Williams. We're there on Route 66. And I said, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just tour Route 66? And Andy and I went back and forth and said, yeah, let's get everyone to get their classic cars and we'll caravan out. And, we'll have the bus in tows that we can, those that don't have the car, and that would be great. But then we see where gas prices are today, and I know those classic cars. My brother has one, and it's 7 miles to the gallon if you're lucky. Fumes are coming out and everything. So it's probably too expensive in your own vehicle. However, if you do have one and you think you might want to do that, let me know. And we'll see what we can work out. Otherwise, we're going to take the bus. So classic, modern comfort. We'll think of it that way. And rather than starting in Chicago, working our way out to the Santa Monica Pier, we're going to start at the Santa Monica Pier and work our way eastward, dividing this into a two-part trip. So it's going to be Santa Monica Pier to Albuquerque. So to start, you fly into LA. There are several airports in that area, but we recommend LAX, probably quickest to get to Santa Monica, maybe Orange County. But you're going to get yourself to the hotel in Santa Monica. That evening, we will head out to the pier. We'll be with Andy. We'll get our photo there at the end of Route 66 before we make our journey following it in the reverse direction. The following day, we hop on to Route 66 and we are visiting many sites on our way out to Albuquerque. So the Cucamonga service station is a fun little museum, old gas station that they still have just outside of Santa Monica, a little to the east of it. We're going to visit the historic original McDonald's, which is a museum now. So I think I have to look again, but I think a modern McDonald's is across the street. So if you want, you can still get your McD's when we see the original one. Then we're going to be visiting several Route 66 museums. A lot of these are going to have classic cars, old road signs. Each one's going to be a little different. So we'll visit the California Route 66 one in Victorville, and then we'll visit the Mother Road Museum in Barstow. We'll have an overnight in Barstow, and then the following day we head out. We'll drive on Route 66 through Amboy. That's the photo you see behind the itinerary there. So Roy's Motel and Cafe. It's now this little gift shop. So we'll be able to tour there. You can get little souvenirs. I do believe, and I'm going to try to coordinate it with them, we can take a private tour of buildings that are still standing for what used to be the motel lodge rooms. And then we're going to continue down into Needles. We're going to visit the El Garces train station, which was a former Harvey House. So we're going to tie in that Harvey House history that we've learned about a lot in the Southwest there along Route 66. Then we're into Arizona. And so we have to visit, of course, the Arizona Route 66 Museum in Kingman. Our overnight is in Kingman. And then we continue east. We'll stop in Seligman and we get to Williams and we'll visit that Route 66 gas station museum. That's the photo you saw from the beginning. We'll have a group lunch in Flagstaff. There is a special cafe that Andy wants us to go to, all of us. He's done a little write-up on this place. And so it's a little dive bar cafe that we're going to visit. It will tie into all of his lectures. It's going to be a lot of fun. As we continue making our way east, we'll stop by Meteor Crater Visitor Center. We'll see the large crater that is just outside of Winslow, Arizona. And then we will have our overnight in Winslow. Might as well be at the La Posada. That's the main hotel in Winslow. We'll stand on that corner in Winslow as well, and we'll get that photo of everyone standing on the corner. And then we continue making our way east. We'll hit the Wigwam Motel in Holbrook, Arizona, Hotel El Rancho in Gallup. This is a really fun hotel. We'll visit the Route 66 Arch in Grants. This will be a photo opportunity. And then we get into Albuquerque. And so in Albuquerque, there are two motels that I'm looking for us to stay at, and they both can accommodate the bus. And so they've renovated a former Route 66 motel into a modern motel. And they've closed off where the vehicles would park in front of the motel and turned it into like an outdoor eating space. And so it's going to be a really fun way to end our trip along Route 66. And then the following day, individual departures. So you may stay in Albuquerque, but the bus otherwise will take us to the Albuquerque airport. And you'll have the option to fly home from Albuquerque or rent a car, drive up back to Denver or wherever you're coming from. All right. Humboldt Island Historic District. Each year we tour a different historic district here in Denver. This year we looked actually not in Denver, we went to Inglewood with the Arapahoe Acres Historic District. This year we're gonna, or for 27, we're gonna come back to Denver and we're gonna look at Humboldt Island. This is Humboldt Street from about 9th to 12th, right next to Cheeseman Park. And so 9th to 12th Avenue on Humboldt Street. There are beautiful mansions, and my most favorite story of all of Denver, the Black Widow of Humboldt Street. I'll tell you all about her on that tour next year. All right, now we're getting into the middle of the year, and we have a big trip. This has been requested for several years. We've finally been able to get it all to work out. Uh, Calendars have lined up. And so Jack is our content expert taking us up to Alaska. And it is all about riding the rails in Alaska. As you can see, this is in June. And so this is to give us the most sunlight and best chance of not getting stopped by snow or anything of that nature. But it's going to be light out pretty late, 10, 11, maybe even a little later than that. Sun will set briefly, and then the sun's going to come back out. So bring your sleep masks on this adventure. And your bug spray, yes. The mosquitoes, they can get larger there in Alaska during the summer. All right, so that first day, we fly into Anchorage. And so everyone would get themselves to Anchorage. If you book the flights with us, we're all going to be together. Again, only activity that night is a welcome dinner. We'll stay overnight in Anchorage for a few nights before we make our way north. That second day, we hop onto the Coastal Classic train. And so this will be an early morning and a later evening, but we're taking the train down to Seward. And once we get to Seward, you'll have options for taking excursions. And so you can do the Kenai Fjords, you can take a bus tour there around Seward, you can do dog sledding, or you can go to the Alaska Sea Life Center. So you'll have several options as you register for this trip. And once we get a little closer to the tour date, Rhonda will reach out to you individually to see which option you want to go with. She'll provide the details of what that excursion looks like for the day, everything you'll need to know so that you can make an informed decision. Then we hop back on the train. It's going to take us back to Anchorage. We are overnight in Anchorage again. So again, later evening, but we get to see the train and that part of Alaska. And then we have a full day of exploring Anchorage. So we'll see the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, the Alaska Native Heritage Center, the Anchorage Museum, and you'll have some free time downtown. We'll have our overnight there, and then we hop onto the train, making our way north. So this is the Denali Star train, Anchorage up to Denali. And so we have 2 nights in Glitter Gulch, which is right on the outskirts of Denali National Park. And we will have one full day exploring Denali National Park. So the train gets in, I think it's mid-afternoon or so. We'll have a music theater dinner show. It's something fun that they do up there in Glitter Gulch at several of these little lodges that they have. And then we go to the hotel for the evening, nights on your own. Again, the sun will be up late, so you could take a little hike that evening if you want. Just keep away from bears, moose, all the big critters that are out there in Alaska. And then we take a guided tundra wilderness tour. And so this is our full day exploring Denali National Park, and it is a guided adventure. And so we'll be on one of these buses that can get into the national park. So not modern comfort that we're used to with our buses here in Colorado or just on the roads. This is going to be more like a school bus to get us into different parts of the national park. We'll have the guide. We'll hope to see some wildlife while we're out there. We'll certainly learn about the glaciers. And then, of course, Mount Denali. And then we get in that evening into Glitter Gulch. The evening will be on your own. Then we hop on the train the following day, to make our way to Fairbanks. There we go. So we'll be on the train, enjoying the beautiful scenery. We get into Fairbanks. It's a little later that evening. Evening is on our own. And then we'll have a full day touring Fairbanks. So we'll see historic city, the Trans-Canada Pipeline. If anyone was with us on our Aurora's tour in March, same pipeline, similar tour that we're going to have there in Fairbanks, Pioneer Park, and the Morris Thompson Cultural and Visitor Center. We'll have a farewell dinner, and then the following day, it's your departure from Fairbanks, or you may stay later. There are options up there where if you want to get up to the Arctic Circle, you can book a tour. It's a 14-hour drive. Oh, it might be less in the summertime. But it's a drive up to the Arctic Circle, so there are optional activities. If you want to extend your stay there in Fairbanks, return to Anchorage, you have flexibility. Yes, the train, you may be asking, what is it going to be like? Are we just going to be in a regular little train? I don't. Go back to that first photo. Don't have a photo of it, but this is the Gold Star service with the full dome that we have. So similar to Rocky Mountaineer, you're going to have dome above you. We're riding the top line service that we have. So you'll have meals fed to you on the train. That's where you see breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, all of that's included. They're really going to take care of us while we're on this train. So semi-luxurious trip. Definitely looking at the natural scenery of Alaska, and then for those train enthusiasts, we will have Jack every step of the way to tell us all about these trains. And one thing, Jack, I do believe, and I know he's not here with us today, but if you see this recording, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you want me to let folks know that the train carriages were designed and built here in Golden, Fort Lufton? Okay. And they're used there in Alaska. So we have a Colorado connection, even to the Alaska Railroad. I do know for sure it's the same with the Rocky Mountaineer carriages that they have with those domes, also constructed here in Colorado and sent up to Vancouver and Calgary to be on that train. So it's going to be a wonderful ride, seeing a lot of Alaska and a perfect time of year to see all of that scenery. Okay, so another trip that's been created out of popular demand by request. Each year, we have traced a Colorado River from headwaters to the deltas. This most recent one we just completed in March was the Rio Grande River. That had to be split up into two pieces because the river is so long, over 2,000 miles. So we just wrapped that up, and now we had to ask, where do we go next? We've seen the four major, rivers out of Colorado. What's next? And so, gauging all of our guests' interest, we came up with several rivers, but the one that we landed on, most popular, was the Mississippi River. And so, this too will be split into two parts. And we're going to do the upper Mississippi and the lower Mississippi. Lower Mississippi will be next year. Both are going to be led by Andy Gulliford. And so, this will be a special year that he and his wife Stephanie are celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. And this will be during their 50th wedding anniversary. So he's going to bring along Stephanie for this journey, but we have a lot to see. So on the photo you see here, bottom photo is the headwaters, the start of the Mississippi River. Everyone will be able to get there. We're going to take our photo, and you have the short little walk across the Mississippi there. We will see as we follow the route, it gets grander and grander, becoming the mighty Mississippi. The top photo you see there is what a portion of our journey will be aboard. This is the American Melody with American Cruise Lines. So this is a two-part tour by bus and by cruise. So let's hop into the itinerary there. So the first day, we're going to fly to Fargo, North Dakota. And you may say, why are you going to Fargo, North Dakota? That is the closest to the headwaters for a major metropolitan city that we may fly to. It is about 2 hours quicker than flying to Minneapolis. And so we're going to start there in Fargo. Bus will meet us there. We're going to have a welcome dinner and overnight. We'll get introduced to the Mississippi. We'll have Andy there at a small mini lecture. And then the following day, we make our way to the headwaters. And this is by Lake Itasca State Park. We will visit the headwaters center, and you have that chance to walk across and get your photo. From there, we're going to follow, and it winds itself through Minnesota before it gets to Minneapolis. So it's not just a straight shot. We have a couple days of following this river before we get to another big city. And through that, we're going to go see Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. We'll get our photos there, and then we'll visit Lake Bemidji State Park and Lake Winnipegowish. Excuse me. We have an overnight in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. And then we'll visit some museums, the Judy Garland Museum. We'll have group lunch in Brainerd. We'll visit the Geographical Center of Minnesota. Always a fun thing when you come across sites like that. We'll visit Crow Wing State Park and have an overnight in Little Falls. Now, for some of these, you may be saying, well, what's there in Crow Wing State Park? It is an opportunity to see the river. So anytime you see a lake listed, state park, anything like that. It is walking around to see the river. And so easy hikes, approachable hikes, nothing death defying or anything like that. But that is what we mean when it's just a simple state park listing. The following day, we leave Little Falls. There in Little Falls, we have Charles Lindbergh House and Museum. So we'll visit that. We gotta relate to the river and a big industry along it, and that is fishing. And so we'll visit the Minnesota Fishing Museum and Hall of Fame. We'll have group lunch in St. Cloud, the Munsinger Gardens, and then the Mississippi Gateway Regional Park. Overnight in St. Paul for 2 nights. The following day, we're going to return to Minneapolis. We've kind of been driving through. We're going to visit the Mills City Museum, the historic Stone Arch Bridge, and the Science Museum of Minnesota. We return to our hotel in St. Paul, and then we transition into getting on a riverboat. And this will be our cruise for the rest of the journey. So the following morning, afternoon, we will board the American Melody. This again is American Cruise Lines. And then for a full day, we'll just be cruising along the Mississippi River. And so it's going to take its time. The captain will mention stuff as we go by. We'll have structured lectures with Andy while we're on the riverboat. We'll have very nice meals as we're traveling about as well. All of the cabins on this cruise are deluxe balcony cabins. And so that's your only option. There is no interior or, I mean, if you want, I can get to the penthouse cabin. You'll have to work with me on that one. It will definitely be a different price. But deluxe balcony cabins on this little riverboat. We get into on the 27th, La Crosse, and the great thing with American Cruise Lines, a shore excursion is included at every single stop. So when the boat truly does dock, you will have a guaranteed option of a shore excursion. We will likely take the ones that are offered by American Cruise Lines, but there will be one at least that's only offered for Treasure Box, and it will be led by Andy. We're just determining which city we want to do that in. So we haven't landed on that yet. But it's a great way to see these little smaller towns along the Mississippi River. We have your option currently that we are listing is the Hickson House and a bus city tour of La Crosse. We hop back on the riverboat, take our day of cruising. The next day, a lecture with Andy, and then we get to Debec, Iowa. You'll have the Debec River Walk excursion. They'll have some others listed. You're back on the boat. Then we have Davenport, Iowa. If anyone's really interested in learning about John Deere, this is a huge thing there in Davenport. City exploration as well. And then Hannibal, Missouri. Of course, got to talk about Mark Twain. So Charles Lindbergh, Judy Garland, Mark Twain, getting a sense of what this trip's going to be like. Another lecture with Andy, and then we get to St. Louis. And so in St. Louis, we'll do the National Great Rivers Museum. And for those that weren't able to do it on our trip last year, we'll go to the Gateway Arch National Park. If anyone wants to go up to the top of the arch there. We get back on to the riverboat. We're docked right there in St. Louis, but it's your free accommodations for the night, so you might as well stay aboard. The following morning, they'll provide breakfast, and then you'll head on out, and we'll help with anyone making arrangements to the airport, or if you want to stay later in St. Louis, we'll have an optional little add-on itinerary where you can go off and explore on your own, similar to what we did on our trip last year. So it's a big trip, many days out there. Half of it is on the riverboat, the other half is by bus. All right, and then we get back to Colorado and we got to do some day touring. And so this year in 2026, we are exploring our compass rose of the suburbs. And so this is all Denver Metro, not Denver City itself. This year, we're looking at northwest suburbs. So next year will be northeast. I tried to on my map kind of show where that's going to be, but it's North Glen, Thornton, Commerce City. That area quadrant of the metro is what we will explore in 27. Okay, Capital Collection. I mentioned the 6 earlier, New England. And so we'll do that this year in July. Next July, we'll do the Mid-Atlantic. And so you see the prices listed there. This is a trip that will fly in to Richmond and fly out of Philadelphia. So please pay attention to that. 2 different start end points. Which we get to Richmond, we'll have an overnight welcome dinner, pretty traditional there. Then we'll see the Virginia State Capitol. This is a trip that's going to be led by Kevin. And so if you want to see Kevin again, he created the Capitol Collection. And so I've asked him to come back onto this. And he really wants to do this walk across the James River. And so this will be led by Kevin. It is an optional walk across the river, but we do have that overnight in Richmond. And then we get on our bus and start making our way to the other five states and capitals that we want to see. So we're going to drive to Annapolis. We'll see the Maryland State Capitol. We're going to continue driving up to Dover, see the Delaware State Capitol. We'll have an overnight in Dover. Then the following day, we're going to drive up to Longwood Gardens, tour the gardens there, drive to Trenton, visit the New Jersey State Capitol. We won't stay in Trenton long, and then we're going to make our way up to Sleepy Hollow, New York. We'll have a group dinner there. We'll be overnight in Sleepy Hollow, and it's all for the next day, seeing the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. And then we'll drive to Poughkeepsie. I hope I'm saying that right. I've heard it different ways in different states. Poughkeepsie, but then different states. So Poughkeepsie, we drive there. We're gonna walk over the Hudson River. We drive to Albany, and then we'll be overnight. The following morning, we will have the New York State Capitol. We'll have group lunch and an Albany walking tour, and then we're going to drive out to Ithaca. And then this tour, we are seeing capitals, but we also want to focus on other general history. And this is history that impacted the entire nation. So we're going to talk about women's suffrage, and so the suffrage movement. So we're going to visit Seneca Falls. We'll visit the state park there, the Women's Rights National Historical Park, and the Elizabeth Cady Stanton House. We'll have a dinner cruise on or in Watkins Glen. And then we return to Ithaca, have an overnight there. And then we've had our time in New York. Now we need to make our way to Pennsylvania. So we'll drive to Wellsboro. We'll have, and this is an important thing, a group pancake brunch. And you know Kevin and pancakes. If anyone was on our Kansas trip, which I'm not too sure if anyone was, okay, yeah, Martins were, Tookie was. We went to Liberal, Kansas, and that is where the Land of Oz is. And so we learned about that with Dorothy. But it's also the International Pancake Festival is there. And it is between Liberal, Kansas and this other city in England that I cannot think of the name of. But they have a competition, and each year they make these pancakes. And so Kevin, he loves his pancakes. He said, we're going to do this. He also mentioned that there is a connection to Lincoln and Nod. We have a statue here in Denver at Washington Park. The cast for that statue was supposed to be destroyed, but a person here in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania, kept that cast and loved it so much that they put it in their yard or then dedicated it to the park. So we're going to see this sister replica copy that should not exist, and we have a little bit of a Colorado connection there. We'll see the Pennsylvania State Capitol, and then we drive to Philadelphia. We have a farewell dinner. The tour officially ends in Philadelphia, and then you have the option the following day on the 26th for departure or staying later. And then we come back to Colorado at the end of July. We'll have the dark side of Denver. And you can see that nefarious Count Blake Colfax taking over all the real estate in Denver, just a really corrupt guy. We're going to learn about Count Blake Colfax and all of these other criminals and murders and mayhem that have happened in Denver. It is truly going to be a macabre tour looking at the dark side. It's not just focusing on ghosts. In fact, ghosts will only be briefly mentioned. We are going to be looking at real significant crimes and also things that try to eliminate crime. And so it's looking at two sides of the coin when it comes to the dark side of it. We have another historic district that we're going to tour through. This will be Lower Highlands. As you can see there, we have the Little Man Ice Cream Pail and Olinger Mortuary, which is now Linger, which is a brunch spot. Very fun for all the folks that are still eating there. I don't think there's any dust in their food. But Lohi, we're going to tour through that. It's going to be a really fun time to see that neighborhood. And then in August, close to the season for peaches and wine to be ready, we're going to head out to Colorado's Western Slope Wineries. So this is really looking at Grand Junction and Palisade. I don't know if anyone saw the news this year, but there will be no peaches.
Oh.
The
Yeah,
freeze
it's
that
okay.
we had, yeah. Oh, you heard it.
It's okay.
Some of it's okay.
It's good.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the freeze that we saw here on the Front Range, another freeze went through, and the Chinook winds that were supposed to go through Tibet Canyon did not protect all of the crops. Some are okay, but it's not tradition season that they're hoping for. So next year, 27, we're going to hope for great success. Everything will be ready to be harvested by the time we're out there. But this is a trip. We take the bus from Denver, head out to Palisade. We'll stop in Vail at a winery, have a lunch, and then we visit the Palisade History Museum. We'll have a welcome dinner and overnight in Grand Junction. We are at the same hotel all 3 nights in Grand Junction. We'll visit some alpacas there at Suncrest Orchards Alpaca Farm. They're always fun to visit and always have to say hi to the little alpacas. We'll have a group lunch and then we'll have 3 winery tastings in Palisade, potentially even more if I can squeeze another one in. Return to Grand Junction overnight there. Friday, August 27th, we'll take a trip through Colorado National Monument, and then we'll have a visit to a couple wineries in Grand Junction, a little free time there, and then overnight in the downtown area. Following day, we hop on the bus and make our way back. It's about a 5 hour drive, so we'll have a rest stop, aiming to be back by around 1 or 2. And then in September, so at the beginning of 25, we did National Parks of Southern California. And then at the end of that trip, we did Disneyland. Southern California was Death Valley National Park, Joshua Tree National Park, and the national park that we only got to the visitor center for, Channel Islands. We were supposed to head out there. So at the same time that those LA fires were happening. And so the winds prevented us from getting on the boat. But folks love these national parks. I love taking folks to national parks. And so we're going to look at the northern end of California. And there are several national parks in California. So even with the northern end, we're truly looking at a far north end and just 2 national parks to give us a full experience at each. So the trip starts in Eureka, California. You got to get yourself out there, book the flight with us. We'll have a welcome dinner overnight in Eureka for 3 nights. The following day, it's a full day of exploring Redwood National Park. And we'll visit the northern section of that park. We're going to stop as many times as we can. We're going to meet with rangers and join in on the ranger guided programs. Everything that we can do on that north end of the park. We have to drive from Eureka all the way up and then work our way back down. The following day, we'll do the southern section. And so full northern, then a full southern section closer to Eureka. So we'll get in around 5 or 6 that evening, get ready to depart for Redding. And so on the 11th, we head out east and we'll visit the Whiskeytown National Recreation Area and the Shasta Ghost Town. We'll be overnight in Redding for the next 3 nights. And then it's 2 full days of exploring Lassen Volcanic National Park. And so we'll have 1 full day again, guided ranger programs, hikes and the like. And then the second day, September 13th, we'll do a little more exploration in there. And then we'll have a small amount of exploration in Redding that afternoon, a group dinner, and then the flights will leave from Redding on the 14th. Fun little trip out there in California. All right. My favorite food festival in Colorado, the Pueblo Chile and Frijoles Festival. If anyone has not heard me talk about green chilies before, now you get to know everything. It's the best trip ever. #1 trip right here. It's gonna sell out immediately, so you want to get on. I hope it is gonna be really fun. I know you may not like spice, and not everyone does like spice, but we have Pueblo green chilies. These are grown out in the fields around Pueblo. We have competition with Hatch, New Mexico, Pueblo, Colorado. Who has the better chili? Most of the world and nation would say Hatch. They have just a better marketing campaign, in my opinion. I think it's Pueblo. We're going to see it. We're going to test it out ourselves. We're going to head down there. We'll experience the festival. I'm going to be bringing my wagon and so that I can carry all of my chilies back on the bus. We'll see it is a bus tour intentionally so that we have the entire undercarriage to fill with chilies. It's going to be a wonderful smell the entire way back home. Eyes will be watering and everything. It's going to be so fun. But you do have the opportunity to get your chilies. They roast them there, and so you don't have to worry about taking the skins off. We'll have a meal, and then we're going to visit one of the farms out there. And so we'll see the festival and all the folks coming in for the festival. We're also going to go to one of the farms and learn about chili farming and raising all the crops out there for these chilies. We'll also learn about Italian heritage in Pueblo because many of the chili pepper farms are Italian heritage farms, and some of these are centennial farms in Colorado. So over 100 years of Italian farmers in Pueblo making chilies for us. It's wonderful. So, any questions on chilies before I move on? My mouth is watering. I'm ready for it. It is. Happy birthday to Becky on that day. I know what you're gonna do on your birthday. All right, and then we continue our second part of the Great Lakes trips that we have. So this year in 26, we're visiting Western Great Lakes. Next year in 27, it's the eastern half. In 28, it will be the central. So what do we mean by Eastern? You're going to fly from Denver out to Syracuse. The tour starts there. We'll visit the Erie Canal Museum, have a lunch that day, the Fort Ontario State Historic Site, the Sodus Lighthouse Museum, making our way out to Rochester. Overnight in Rochester, and then we'll have a guided tour of Buffalo. We'll visit, and here's the important part, Niagara Falls. So you see on here, Niagara Falls State Park, guided boat and walking tour. We are doing our best to get to the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. When this is important, you will need your passport to get to the Canadian side. So if you are registered, we'll send out reminders once we have everything totally firmed up. But we know for sure it's going to be a boat. We're going to have some walking. That whole day is about Niagara Falls. We'll return to Buffalo, overnight there, and then we're going to continue on, heading westward along the eastern Great Lakes. We're going to visit Frank Lloyd Wright's Gray Cliff house. And so this ties in very well with Colorado and prairie architecture and Usonian architecture for those that were on the Arapahoe Acres tour last month. This ties in quite well with that because those were all inspired by Frank Lloyd Wright. We'll visit the Presque Isle and Tom Ridge Environmental Center. We'll have a paddleboat sunset dinner cruise, and we'll be overnight in Erie. And then we'll visit the Erie Maritime Museum, the Lake Erie Nature and Science Museum, and then we get to Sandusky. I'll say hello to Tommy Boy, if anyone knows that movie with Chris Farley and Dan Aykroyd. Okay, I'll move on from that. That's all. And you see on there, it says Cedar Point exploration. We will not be taking you on the roller coasters at Cedar Point. I am sorry to say, but Cedar Point is right on the lakes. And so we'll head out there. We'll see Cedar Point. We're not going to ride the rides. And then we'll have an overnight on Catawba Island. We'll have guided exploration there. Oh, my guided exploration. We'll visit Lakeside Marblehead, lighthouses up in that area, the Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge, and stroll, making our way toward Toledo. We have the National Museum of the Great Lakes, and we like ghosts on our trips too. So if anyone wants to, we'll do a Toledo ghost tour. And then we make our way to Cleveland. We'll have the Lorraine Harbor Lighthouse Lookout, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So this will be a good, fun way to end our journey there in Cleveland. We'll have a farewell dinner, hotel in Cleveland, not too far from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And then your flights tomorrow, or unless you want to stay later, will be out of Cleveland there in October. So we don't guarantee it, we don't promote it as such, but there is a likelihood that you'll see fall colors on this trip. It's around the correct time of year. So another beautiful way to see Niagara Falls and the rest of the cities there on the Great Lakes. Okay, I mentioned food tours. This is our second one that we brought back. So we have a bus food tour. That's in Aurora, beginning of the year in February. This is our walking food tour. This will be on South Broadway. And so this is October 23rd, Savor the Streets Culinary Walking Tour. We're going to offer these each year, one walking, one bus. The walking tour on South Broadway, you get yourself there. You park once. We're going to walk to the different restaurants, and it's the same thing. Included our drinks, appetizers, entrees, and desserts, as well as guide interpretation. It's not just about food. We have to walk off some of the food we eat before the next location. So you get to learn some of the history of the Baker neighborhood and South Broadway as we go about. Okay, we've made it to our international trip. So for international visits, we've been looking around. We have the biggest issue with Treasure Box is we have a lot of ideas, and there are only two of us who can get everything together. And so we would love to go everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. But the one, once again, through popular demand that popped up a lot, surprisingly, was the Yucatan Peninsula. And so the focus, of course, for all of those requests was to look at the Mayan ruins. And so that ancient history and pre-colonialization history, that's what folks wanted to look at. But we have the great resource with Dr. Shaz Austin, who's been to this area as well as Belize many a time, where she has great connections with folks who live and work there, have their own restaurants, guides, and hotels. And so we're going to get the local look of the Yucatan Peninsula, working with the folks that are down there. And so let's jump into that itinerary. This is going to be co-led by Kevin and Dr. Shaz Austin. And so the two of them will be your main point people on this trip. Everyone will fly into Cancun. And then from Cancun, we have the new high-speed rail Maya train that does a loop through the Yucatan Peninsula. We are going to be riding portions of that train getting to our destinations. So it's called Maya Train or Tren Maya, and we are going to be riding a couple sections of this. So the first one will be we get to Cancun, we're going to get on the train and head out to Valladolid. We'll have our overnight and a welcome dinner there. It's going to be a catered, truly local experience. One of the folks that Shaz knows is a chef that is out there, and she's going to be creating a lot of our meals on this trip. The following morning, we're going to take a guided tour of Chichen Itza. And then if anyone's interested, I myself am a little too scared for it, but you'll be with Kevin, you'll be in good hands, but you may do a cenote swim if you want to get into one of the cenotes. And there are many throughout the Yucatan Peninsula as a result of the asteroid that came right down into that area and killed off all the dinosaurs. We now see these cenotes, which are big open holes in the ground, most filling with water. And so you get this deep water, perfect little spherical hole, and you're welcome to swim in that. Then we'll have a guided tour of Izamal and return to Valladolid. Then we continue on this journey. So you can see it's many, many days. This is our longest trip next year, I believe. We'll have a guided tour to Rio Lagartos. We'll see flamingos, and if anyone wants to do a mud bath, you may do that. We'll visit the Ekbalam ruins, and then we're going to take the train to Merida. And so we'll have a few nights in Merida. We'll see Uxmal, the Panama hat makers and caves. This is something that Shaz has worked with in Bacal. We'll have another fun group dinner, return to Merida, overnight there, and then we'll learn all about the crater, the Chicxulub crater. This is the asteroid that killed off dinosaurs. We'll have some beach time, free time in town if you want, and then a Yucatecan cooking class. And so one of the chefs will come out and you'll work with masa, you'll make tortillas, and that I know for sure. I don't know what else, but it's going to be a fun little cooking class. That will be your meal for the evening too. Don't worry, if you're not a good cook, they always make extra. And so you can always have that on the side. Overnight in Merida, and then we take the train down to San Francisco de Campeche. There, you're gonna have a little bit of free time. The train ride is actually a longer one. We'll have a sunset walk along the boardwalk overnight there in San Francisco. We'll have a guided tour the next day, head out to Fort San Miguel, another group dinner, and then we'll say goodbye to the train. We'll have a bus following us this whole time. So our bus will take us to Bacalar. We'll have a guided lagoon tour the following morning, and then we make our way to Tulum. And so we'll have 3 nights in Tulum. On our way to Tulum, we'll stop for a little ice cream sweet treat of this place that Shaz knows. That's highly recommended. Perfect little way to cool off in the afternoon. And then on Friday, November 12th, a little hard to see on there, but we'll have a make your own chocolate experience. This will be from bean to bar. And so you'll learn about the entire process of making chocolate. The Koba Pyramid will have an art outing in Tulum and then a group dinner. One of the chefs that Shaw's has worked with lives in Tulum. And so a lot of our meals are going to really focus in around her and her city. And then we'll visit the Vena a la Luz Sculpture Park. And this will be a fun little addition with the history of corn. And we'll learn about the history of corn and maize with the folks, the Mayans, and how that has traveled up into the Southwest. We won't be remiss without seeing more of our ruins. And so we'll visit Tulum National Park. The ruins they have there, those are the two photos that you see listed in the presentation. And then from Tulum, we will take the train up to Cancun. And so once we get to Cancun, that will be our base camp for the last 2 nights of the trip. You'll have on the last full day, November 15th, a free day. In this free day, you may stay in Cancun, or you may head down to Playa del Carmen, or you may head down to Playa del Carmen and then hop on a ferry and go to Cozumel, spend your day in Cozumel, come back to Playa del Carmen, and then go back to Cancun. So you have options to see different portions along the little coast there. All three are beach areas. It just depends on what part of the beach and culture you want to visit. And then we'll be in Cancun. And so on the last day, the 16th, you will depart from there wherever you came. Or if you want, you may stay later. Reading the West, libraries and bookstores of Denver. So in November, we'll have a nice warm tour on the bus. We'll be on the bus the whole day, where we're going to travel around the city, learning about the different branches of the Denver Public Library and some of the treasures that are inside those. And we'll also learn a little bit about bookstore history, including the many changes of the tattered cover bookstore. And then our last tour of 27, we have the Winter Diamonds of Denver. So this is a trip that we do each year, different areas. It's really meant to be a luxurious staycation for you. We don't really travel in our own backyard too often for hotels. So this is your chance to stay in nice hotels right before the holidays. So the evening starts off here in Denver. We'll have a cocktail hour overnight. You may see the hotels are not listed. This is because I can't make a promise without the contracts in hand. The contracts aren't in hand. So I want to tell you where I want to go, and then we should be able to get it to work out. The first night will be at the Ritz-Carlton in Denver. We'll have our cocktail hour, we'll have a little lecture, and we'll just be enjoying the elegance of that part of the downtown core. The following morning, we're going to have breakfast as a group. Not likely at the hotel, we'll probably go somewhere else. And then we'll have a little walking tour downtown, another meal. This is an all-inclusive trip, so no meal is on your own. Every meal is included in your package. And then we're going to transfer over to the Cherry Creek area. And there at Cherry Creek, we will stay at the Hotel Jacquard is what we're looking at. And so this is a Marriott hotel just north of the Cherry Creek shopping mall. We'll walk around, and as you see, this is in December and it's focused on a weekend. And so the Cherry Creek holiday markets start up right after Thanksgiving. So we'll visit those holiday markets. We'll have a little free time in Cherry Creek. We'll have an evening holiday activity overnight there at the hotel. And then the following morning, we'll have a group brunch tour. And so this is, we're actually going to go to a couple of different restaurants to enjoy brunch. So this is a food tour within a tour, and we'll just really indulge that morning. And then we're going to have a craft activity. And that evening, we will bring back our holiday lights tour. And so we will hop on a bus. We're going to drive at night into one of the neighborhoods in Denver. We're going to be looking for all the holiday lights that people put on their homes, which means I won't know for sure the route of that until the day after Thanksgiving. So that's going to be a tough one for me because that's when I start this year's Winter Diamonds. So we will have a route determined for that year, but folks don't start putting up their lights until after Thanksgiving. We want to take you to the brightest lights that we can find. Because we are in that Denver Tech Center area, the good news is we will likely see Cherry Hills Village, Inglewood, that section of the city. Cherry Hills Village is the richest part of our city, and so they have very large, grand displays with their lights. That's what we're going to hope for. The hotel there on Sunday, December 5th, what we're looking at is the new Apiary Hotel. So that just opened up a few months ago. It's right off of Bellevue and I-25. They have residences above, and it's also a park hotel. So we're going to experience that's the true modern, brand new hotel as of just a couple months ago. Next year will just be a year old. Okay, so those are the 27 trips. Before I get too much further and open it up to questions, I want to readdress our specialized adventures. As I mentioned, we get a lot of ideas, and every trip we build out is based on the places you want to go. So when we start hearing about a place, we make note. When we hear it again and again, we start building from there. We can't get to every place because our team is so small. So we have other options for you in order to travel with us or to help us with your travels. So the first one of this is a personalized adventure. And you've probably heard about personalized adventures in the past. You've probably seen emails from us. Most of you have been traveling with us for several years, so you've heard us talk about this. You can hire me to design a trip. I'll go on the trip with you, any place you want to go, and we can do that. And we've had a few of our guests design trips as such, but these are really focused on just one or two people hiring us if we have the time, finding a place. A lot of you want to go with a group. There's camaraderie when we travel together. So something that we're going to try is this new idea of a focus tour. So the personalized adventures are now going to be separated out with the focus tour. Both are specialized adventures, which means we're just going to try to go above and beyond, get you to the places you want to get to. Focus tours means these are larger groups, but not 20 people. I can't always put together a trip. Sometimes trips get canceled if we don't have enough folks. But if you know 4 to 6 people that are sure wanting to go on this trip, you may let us know, and then we can build out a tour. And then we can let other folks know, hey, we now have this. If you're interested, we can open it up. So for these, what I want to introduce are potential focus tours that we'd be willing to provide in 27. If as I cover these trips, if you think, hey, I'd be interested in this, look around. If you see other folks that might be interested, you might be able to find your 6. But the key to this is that I will list out potential trips, but it's up to you. Let me know if there's interest. And it's up to you to find and try to find others that may share that interest with you. So we'll send out promotions and communications, but we also need to hear from you. So that first one, Luxurious Winter in Yellowstone. This is a trip we run a few years, and it's been a while. Our last attempt at this was, 2020 with Treasure Box. It was one of our first, and that was still pandemic, slowly loosening restrictions. It was just a little too much to try to run at that time. We need a year and a half advance notice to stay at Yellowstone, and so it's been hard to try to plan this out for future trips. But if I have a core group of folks that want to go to Yellowstone, the sooner you let me know with those few folks, the sooner I can build it out. Bones Beneath Colorado, a fossil trip here in Colorado, focused on all of the paleontological history we have here. This is a more physically demanding trip, but there are fossil track sites outside of Ouray and outside of La Junta. There is Dinosaur National Monument, which is technically in Utah, but sharing the border with Colorado. We have Dinosaur Colorado, we have Grand Junction, fossil sites all throughout. This is a trip where we'll go see all of those. And because it's a little physically demanding, we'll be hiking to some of those track sites. The Blooms of Crested Butte. Every July, we have the Crested Butte Wildflower Festival. It's been a few years since we've been out there to Crested Butte, but I've heard just little birds here and there. Flowers would be great. I would love to return to Crested Butte. So there's another opportunity. If you want to head out to the Wildflower Festival, we can try to build that for you. Diwi, Chamonix. This is a trip where in 2019, and it was just that year, we did a sister city trip with History Colorado, where we went to Europe and we saw all these wonderful sister cities, had a really awesome time. One of those is Chamonix, France, which is the sister city of Aspen, Colorado. In 2030, Chamonix will be hosting the Winter Olympics. Since we've been to Chamonix and we know some of the locals there, This would be a trip where we could go to Chamonix to see how a city prepares for the Winter Olympics. That's Chamonix, France. We can also look at even further ahead, Salt Lake City. If you want to see how Salt Lake is going to prepare for, I believe it's the 2034 or 38 Winter Olympics, they will be hosting again. The last time was in '02. Same with Los Angeles. If you want to head out to Los Angeles and learn how the city's preparing for the 28 Summer Olympics, that is something that we can do for you. Starry Nights, Dark Skies. These are always wonderful trips. As you see with that hefty brochure, we had to cut here and there, but it is a trip I would love to be able to offer. This is heading down to West Cliff, single night in West Cliff. We've got the Smoky Jack Observatory, and we can work with astronomers to look up at our dark skies. And then holidays in Durango. So they have a nice winter market down there, celebrate the holidays. So rather than seeing what it's like here in Denver, maybe you want to see a different part of the state. Same thing can be said for other cities that celebrate the holidays. You want to see what New York is like during Christmas time? We can take you to New York. So again, these are ideas that I've come up with just hearing from a few folks. But if you have an idea, find your friends, say, hey, would you want to do a trip like that? Come to me or Rhonda and say, hey, we've got 4 people. Then we can start building and we can work with you on the dates to make sure it's the right time of year. We can make sure it's the right budget that you're looking for. But we want to offer more of our services to you with what limitations that we have being only the 2 of us. Yes. So a minimum for a focus tour, truly minimum would be 2 people. True minimum. We're aiming for 4 to 6. It could be more. If you come with me, hey, I've got 30 people who want to do something, we'll definitely put it together for the 30 folks. But my anticipation is, yeah, around 4 to 6 folks. It's enough to warrant a guide. We can still find the transportation, and you have that camaraderie of traveling with a group as you do on our normal trips. Okay, so those that are here in person, you have your treasure maps. We have extras, so please take extras should you want to pass these to any of your friends. For those that are seeing the recording here, request a treasure map. You're going to have the email from us. Just respond to that email and say, hey, I would like one, and we'll get one into the mail for you. If not, you may email Michael@treasureboxtours.com or rlloyd@treasureboxtours.com. As a reminder, 20% off first 2 weeks until May 21st and 10% off until September 22nd. And lastly, before I will turn it over to questions, but keep this in mind for where you want to go in 2028, because believe it or not, Rhonda and I, at the end of June, are going to sit down and have a meeting to plan out 2028 trips. So, all right, so thank you so much. That's our year looking into to 2027. Are there any questions about the trips that I went over? Yes, Cindy. So the question for the Upper Mississippi River Tour, may you do just one half or the other? Yes. To do that, email me directly because I have to figure out the price point. But yes, if you want to only do the cruise or only the bus, you have that option. Just email me or Rhonda directly. Any other questions? Which trips are limited in space? The Upper Mississippi River, riding the rails of Alaska, Let's Go Gastronomy, and the Pueblo Chili Festival. And I feel as though there's one more. So the 4 trips, again, space is limited. Yucatan. So the Yucatan Peninsula, riding the rails of Alaska, Upper Mississippi River, and all aboard Chicago, from Denver to Chicago, the train trip with Jack, also space is limited. Now, for those that have your brochure, it's going to list that out under each trip. It's also going to say that on the website as you go through it. And for those that are seeing the recording, you'll see on the website until you get your physical brochure. And the last thing, for those that are on the recording, the best way to get your next copy of this is on your next group tour. So if you're on Mary Coulter, Scotland, I'm going to have all these brochures and be able to pass them out. Wonderful. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining. If you have further questions for those that are in person, I'll stand off on the side. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I look forward to traveling with you more this year and, of course, next year. Thanks, everyone.